think we can start.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Constantidis, project coordinator of the VITALISE project, and I'm really happy to see that more than 40 people joined today's event, which is about the open calls and presenting, I would dare to say, the tip of the iceberg, since we are already 1 year project. And today the research activities that will start next month, but will be also the test bed to embrace the research studies of the external researchers will be presented today. So I'm really glad about this. I'm not going to take more time. I will give the floor to our scientific coordinator, Panos Vamidis, for welcome, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Evdokimos. Despina, dear participants, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all on this day today, on this special event, on the Info Days, with the aim of which is to just inform and provide all the necessary information that will be needed for transnational access to interested parties, researchers, etc., regarding the joint research activities that will be hosted within the infrastructures of the VITALISE project. We are talking about living lab infrastructures and specific pieces of research work, which are in fact particular for each of the partners that are involved. And we really hope that the landscape of the application of living labs will start changing through the joint research activities. It is vital for us and for VITALISE to say that we are giving a good deal of importance on the actual calls, and the success of which will actually have to do a lot with the success of the project altogether. So thank you for joining, and please spread the word out if possible. Thank you, Evdokimos.
And I think now it's the time of Despina to start the show.
Thank you. Can I have the host rights, please? So in order to share my screen. Thank you.
Should be fine now. Please let me know if you have any problems. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So, thank you all for being here. And we're happy to welcome you in these two info days that will take place this Monday and the next Monday, and that are about the first open call of VITALISE that is offering transnational access to our research infrastructure. It is important to say that we offer the access, but we also offer reimbursement for the travel costs and the living allowances for people that are joining our research infrastructures. And the call will be open until the 3rd of April. If you're interested to learn more, you can scan the barcode or visit our website. This is the first of the two info days that will take place, and this info day has as a main goal to present the research, joint research activities that are taking place within the VITALISE consortium and within the partners and the living labs that are participating. So our goal is to present that to you in order to get an inspiration of what you can do with us and how you can structure your calls and your proposals for the open calls. It's not mandatory for you to follow specific protocol that we present here. This is what is being done by the partners, but your work may coincide with what we are doing, so you may have an idea that can be linked to what the consortium is doing. And we hope that these presentations will give you some inspiration. The next session, next Monday, will be more practical about your application and how you can structure and prepare it in order to submit it. So let's dive a bit deeper into what we are doing. The JRAs is actually the acronym for Joint Research Activities that are done by the VITALISE Consortium Living Labs. And the general goal of these joint research activities is to support the care pathways using innovative tools and inclusive procedures. So we try to link the whole care pathway and take it from the beginning when a person is maybe sick or visiting a care infrastructure like hospital, nursing homes, the transition that they are doing. So how this vulnerable period is being handled by doctors, by healthcare professionals, by relatives, and how we end up in other care facilities like rehabilitation or even everyday living environments. So we try to cover all these umbrella of the care pathways of people with our 3 research studies. The one is in rehabilitation, as you will see. So you will hear more about how we explore the effectiveness of innovative technologies and interventions on rehabilitation. The other is in transitional care, so how we are trying to collect data from people that are transitioning from a healthcare facility to another. And the other is about collecting data in everyday living environments. And everyday living environments can range from the houses of the people, but also cultural places like museums, sports centers, and you will hear more about that. And in each research activity, different partners are participating. You can see their names here. And as you hear this, you can also link that to your application. So if something is of interest to you, you can see who is participating in order to direct the application towards that. And at this point, I would like to point out also that these studies are not the only ones that the partners are performing. So we will give you an overview, but there are others that are not included in VITALISE, but maybe of interest to you. So please feel free to also have a look on the website, in which we have a more detailed presentation. And just to give you a quick overview of the timeline of the activities that we are doing, in order for you to also link it with the visits of the external researchers. So we are now entering the co-creation phase of the activities that we will have. We have received the ethical approvals, and of course the open calls has started, and we will have the first researchers joining our labs from September to December this year. So it will be the time that we will also be running the individual case study pilots. So it will be an ideal time for you to join us in some of these activities. But then other 2 open call circles will follow, and we will also invite researchers to our living labs for May 23 approximately, and November 23. So this will also be a period, but these are the proposed months. And in these months, we will also have some follow-up data and harmonization, but also some analysis in the 3rd call. So if you're interested in this as well, there will be other open calls that will follow. And here you can see a map of the distribution of our living labs across the globe. As you can see, we are basically based in Europe, as this is a European project, but we have also infrastructures in Canada, and we are very happy that we have these partners with us, and spreading and transferring knowledge from Canada to Europe. And now we'll give the floor to Nele from LICALab in order to continue.
So thank you, Despoina. Indeed, happy to see you all here. I would like to open the discussion regarding the rehabilitation part, so rehabilitation supported by technologies. And I hope that you will see we've got a lot of interesting technologies. We've also got a lot of different designs, but we do have a lot of common activities and common goals, which I want to talk to you about before we go into all the specific cases here. So we've got two types of activities that we will be performing. The first are co-creation activities, so focusing on creating ideas and concepts together with our stakeholders in an interactive manner. And our co-creation activities have got two different goals. We first want to gain insight into the general role of technology in rehabilitation. We will have this general part over different countries, so we can really combine insights in how different countries and settings and individuals view that technology can aid in the rehabilitation process. The second goal of our co-creation activities will be to gain insight into specific innovations. Our partners following me will discuss a lot of specific technologies, which we will of course also discuss with the different stakeholders to see how these can be improved to further meet the needs of our end users. A second group of activities will be the small-scale pilots. And in these pilots, we will actually test the innovative interventions or data collection technologies in rehabilitation practice using procedures which we hope to harmonize, but using a lot of different measurement tools consisting of self-report, but also technological data collection, which you will hear more about today. So these are the activities, and of course we will recruit different samples to be able to answer our research questions and to gain full insights. For the co-creation activities, we want to involve many different stakeholders, and these can be healthcare professionals who are active in a rehabilitation context, but these can also be potential end users, of course, the patients themselves, but also a general sample which might come into contact with these technologies. And thirdly, other formal caregivers or other groups of stakeholders can also be involved in some of the studies, depending on the specific technologies. In the small-scale pilots, which will be the main focus of today, we will include participants with stroke or individuals with mild cognitive impairment, but there's also some variabilities in the samples that will be recruited here or can be recruited by our partners, depending on the technology of interest and the planned design in the small-scale pilot studies. So as you can see here, we've got 4 studies that we will be presenting today. These are executed in 4 different countries. You will hear them talk in just a minute, but I hope you will find that they've got a lot of interesting technologies to use. And we hope that we can spark your interest today with our brief introduction about the technologies, about the data collection. But as you can see on the next slide, everything that we will discuss today has also been written out in a protocol that we have already published in JMIR. So if you have further questions, if you want to read more about what we are doing, about what our goals and our technologies and designs are, you can read this study, or also do not hesitate, of course, to contact any of the VITALISE partners if you've got further questions. So this is for the general part. I will continue talking just a bit more because we are also running a specific pilot study in Belgium ourselves. So we, that is LICA Living and Care Lab, together with our partner Mobilab and Care. And we will focus on virtual mirror therapy. And mirror therapy itself has been an intervention that has been used a lot over time to use a non-effective limb on a non-affected limb to create the illusion of movement in an affected limb, so mainly in stroke, for example. And we want to assess the non-inferiority of virtual mirror therapy, because virtual reality can offer a more engaging and interesting environment, and we want to see how it performs in relation to standard mirror therapy. And of course, we also want to assess the user experiences of this virtual mirror therapy. Sorry, I heard somebody coming through, but I didn't hear the question. So if any questions, do not hesitate to ask, but this didn't came through, I'm afraid. So to continue, So these are our objectives, and the interventions that we will use is virtual mirror therapy. We will use the Oculus Quest headset, and we've got a specific application that was designed for this purpose. So as you can see there, you've got an individual with one arm that is not functioning very well, but the other one is. And with the activities that she performs with her right hand, they are mimicked with the left hand in the virtual environment. And there she can perform activities of daily living, such as picking apples, cooking, and so on. So this is the intervention that we will use. They will use this over a span of different weeks, and we will use multiple data collection technologies to gain insight into how this intervention performs. For this specific pilot, we will use the captive measurement tool to measure active range of motion of the arm in this case. And this is a technology that we use at Thomas More Motion Lab, a general lab that allows for extensive movement analyses, gait analyses, and so on. As you can see here, you can see a lot of feet. So we do a lot of gait analyses, but we can also use this to measure movements in arms and so on. So we've got a lot of different technologies in our lab, which you can also read more about on the VITALISE website. So this is a brief overview of what we will be doing in Belgium. Do not hesitate to contact us if you want more information. And otherwise, I will happily give the floor now to our colleagues in Outh for the Human Centrifuge project.
Thank you, Nella. Hello from me. I will be presenting the small-scale pilot that will take place in Greece, and more specifically in Thessaloniki, in the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, the human centrifuge and rehabilitation. Thank you. Just a few words about our objectives. Our main objective is to assess the technology of the human centrifuge, and more specifically the short arm human centrifuge, as a rehabilitation approach for stroke patients. Also, we will also, and of course you, if you come and join us here, we will also be investigating together the cortical language networks and all the possible functional connectivity alterations that may occur due to the short-arm human centrifuge. Just a few words on our infrastructure. I don't know if we can also play the video to see our intervention firsthand. Here you can see the intervention that we will be performing, and we will be taking a variety of measurements and use many technologies on the short-arm human centrifuge. We will be taking an electroencephalogram, EEG and EMG. We will also be measuring the muscle oxygenation. We will be taking an HRV, and also we'll be measuring the strength and the balance of the participants. Finally, next slide, please. Thank you. Finally, we will also be performing a quite broad data collection, which will include neuropsychological evaluation. We'll be testing many areas of the participants, like memory, attention, speed, etc. Neurophysiological, as you can see on the bottom right corner, with the use of high density 128 EEG. We'll also be assessing the physical health, of course, of the participants, pre and post. All these evaluations will take place, and finally the general health of the participants. We really hope that you will be interested in our intervention, and that you will be joining us here to perform and do this all together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and hello everybody. I'm representing here Gaia, and also what we are doing in our case. In our case, what we are doing is we are trying to include the concept of the green living lab spaces and also creative arts in the process of rehabilitation, focusing mainly on stress rehabilitation. So the objectives that we have, as you can gather from the title, are those to promote and also assess the impact of how integrating creative arts and also, using smart spaces in the process of rehabilitation processes can impact patients, and using then therefore different cross-fertilization methodologies. Our differentiation in here is that we aim to incorporate professionals from the creative and culture industries within the scientific process of rehabilitation, focusing, as I said, on the stress rehabilitation. So the main research questions in here will focus more on the advantages and limitations of using this kind of creative arts in the processes, and also how to integrate the technology within the smart green spaces and also in the creative rehabilitation process. So we count on, well, as you will see in the next slide, we are based on the concept of distributed living lab. So in our case, we collaborate together with one of the municipalities in Biscay, in Basque Country, which is Guernica. And in here, we count on with the collaboration and cooperation with different entities and associations with the municipality itself, and also with some elderly associations and care centers that will contribute with their participants in the process and in the study. So, and also with different institutions around creative arts, like the different museums, peace museums that will contribute with the creative professionals as well, part of it. So the data that we will be collected and in here is based on obviously data collected from the different smart devices that will be used for the heart rate, stress tracking, and also balance rehabilitation and physical and the different semi-structured and structured questionnaires will also be used in order to obtain different and gather different qualitative data. Also different devices and different also certified technologies for stress perception will also be used for the data collection. So this is all from our side, and I hope it is of interest for you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Sofia from Interest Foundation. I'm going to present a small-scale pilot of Gradual Cognitive. The main objectives of the co-creation activities are to explore participants' perceptions of the Gradual Cognitive program and its perceived usefulness. Participants will be able to share their opinions once they have seen the presentation of Gradual Cognitive program and even after interacting with it for a few minutes. These activities will involve 5 professionals, clinicians from other social or health centers with previous experience with the Gradual Cognitive. Between 10 to 20 users, people over 55 years old with mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia. On the other hand, the main objectives of the pilot activities the main objectives of the pilot activity are to validate the new cognitive version of Gradual and to explore the usability and effectiveness of the new functionalities implemented to support clinicians in the development of cognitive therapies. These activities will involve 5 professionals and 45 users, people over 55 years old with mild cognitive impairment or mild dementia. Next slide, please. Thank you. Regarding the infrastructure of the Mind Lab intervention, Interest Rehabilitation Living Lab activities are predominantly carried out in the facilities of Interest and Neurorehabilitation Center and Memory Clinics, as well as in other Interest care centers and external collaborating rehabilitation centers equipped with software platforms for training and rehabilitation. Next slide, please. Gradual Cognitive Program is a neuropsychological assessment and rehabilitation system that supports training programs for people with cognitive deficit or impairment. The Gradual programs allows adults to work on higher cognitive functions such as attention, perception, orientation, memory, calculation, executive functions, language, and reasoning. In addition, it offers a website for the professionals' management of the sessions and an app to provide an intuitive interface for users, patients to carry out the therapies. Finally, for the data collection, different scales and tests validated in different phases of the study will be used. The information to be collected will be socio-demographic data of the participants, data on their cognitive states, on their well-being, health, and social situation. Thank you very much for your attention.
And last but not least, yeah.
Yes, hello, my name is Sevinado. I'm going to present the Walk Again project, or the Augmented Gait Training project, which is actually performed at 2 sites, at the Jewish Rehabilitation Hospital and also at the Institut de Réadaptation Généralisée de Montréal. So the project consists of adding sessions of locomotor training on usual care rehabilitation. So we want to evaluate the effects of adding technology based on locomotor training to the usual rehabilitation of individuals following stroke, in order to test and document the effects of this locomotor training, to identify the most relevant outcome measure, and to determine the common element of the training protocol, to be able to compare them between sites and to determine the specificities of each training. So actually we will test 3 kinds of technology, which is the biomechanical training, for example, such as using a split belt to train step length, haptic training with vibrator, for example, and virtual reality training. It is important to mention that all this technology will be used with some cognitive training, which is a common ingredient to all the locomotor training present here. So next slide, please. There is one before that that's supposed to present the outcome, yes, the standardized outcome measures. So we have many outcome measures, and those are linked to the personal factor, to body structure and function, and to activities and participation. And they are common clinical assessment use, and they are coupled with lab measurement also. And I think the next slide will present some of the technology that we are using. So for example, instrumented walkway, we have also immune system and platform to measure balance capacities, and we also use actimetry. So if you're interested in locomotor training, please join our group. We will be happy to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much all for presenting the work for the Rehabilitation Joint Research Studies in VITALISE. I will take the floor a bit now for presenting you the second study, the Transitional Care study, which is about collecting digital biomarkers for transitional care. So we have as well 2 phases, the co-creation phase and the small-scale pilot. And in the co-creation phase, the goal of the activities is to identify the tendencies that various stakeholders have towards using technological tools for collecting the information that will guide the decisions in the transitional care. These stakeholders can range from care professionals, informal and formal caregivers, but also from the patients themselves, of course, which are at the center of the transitional care. But also gain insight on specific innovations that can give and provide this information in a useful and understandable way. The small-scale pilots will have as objectives, in general, to evaluate the use of harmonized infrastructures that are basically inside or outside the care facilities. So some are inside hospitals and others outside the hospitals in the community, in order to gain insights about this transition that is happening, to evaluate the feasibility of using these ICT tools and technologies and innovations for collecting this information from the various stakeholders, but also see some initial patterns of how this collected data can be linked to this transitional care and inform the transitions. The sample that we will have, the participants that we will recruit, for the co-creation, we need all the actors of the transition, of course, in order to give us their insights on how they can use the specific information. So they will range from healthcare professionals, informal and formal caregivers, but also the patients themselves. And the small-scale pilots will focus on people living with multimorbidities, older people over 65 years, and that are being hospitalized or have been recently discharged from a hospital. And the small-scale pilots, we have actually 5 small-scale pilots. Some will run together. The first of Laurea is the simulation pilot that you will hear more about that. And we have 2 pilots in Greece, 1 in Spain and 1 in Canada. And if you are interested to learn more, we have also a publication in the JMIR protocol that you can find here. And please feel free also to contact any of the authors and the VITALISE project in order to learn more about this. I will give the floor to my colleagues in Laurea to present to you the transition simulation.
Thank you very much. Hello, this is Mika Alastalo from Laurea, Finland, and I will briefly introduce our small-scale pilot, which focuses on transitional nursing care. And we are conducting simulation-based research among our nursing students in our university. And the objectives of our simulation-based research are described here. So we will be evaluating the feasibility and the barriers that nursing students are facing when they are assessing patients' transition readiness in hospital settings. And we will also investigate possible suggestions and directions for developing support systems in the future in terms of transitional nursing care. And our third objective is to evaluate the use of different camera technologies in these simulations. For example, 360 videos, point of view videos, and explore how they can be used in facilitating transitional care and also students' learning and students' experience in these simulations. About our infrastructure, so we have simulation facilities in 3 campuses in Helsinki metropolitan area, and those there is a list of facilities or equipment in these facilities, but I will just briefly tell you what do they include. So we have simulator recording systems, like a traditional cameras and audio system, but that can also be supplemented with this different kind of camera technologies, 360 cameras, head-mounted camera, for example. These facilities include also control rooms for instructions and observations during the simulation scenarios, debriefing rooms for discussions after the simulation, and different kind of simulator mannequins. They are wireless and they are for both adult and pediatric use. We also have vital sign monitors and other healthcare devices and equipment. And this simulator recording system is also available in portable or mobile format. We are collecting data among our nursing students. So we are using questionnaires and observations during the simulation. We are observing students' activities in assessing transition readiness and also patient education, patient guidance. We are conducting focus group interviews to describe students' perceptions and experiences related to this transitional nursing care, and also feedback questionnaire for students' feedback concerning evaluating their learning and also their user experience related to the use of technology in transitional nursing care. Thank you.
Thank you. The small-scale pilots that are a bit different from what Mika has presented. So they are focusing on real patients and not a simulation scenario. And the objectives are evaluate the feasibility of collecting this multi-channel data from various sources, ICT technologies, but also the patients themselves, and how we can use these digital biomarkers in order to inform the transitions. So we will go one by one in the 3 countries performing these small-scale pilots in order to present their infrastructures and data collection.
Hello, this is Beatriz Merino from Spain, speaking right now from Universidad Politécnica de Madrid. And I'm gonna briefly explain the infrastructure and the data collection in the transitional care pilot at LifeSpace. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the LifeSpace Lab is an environment that presents an ecosystem approach that totally implements the concept of a living lab that allows combining a wide range of knowledge and stakeholders to offer for sure innovative and personalized solutions, aiming basically at promoting and improve health and products and services related to it. So within this ecosystem, this is a specific infrastructure, which is the LifeSpace, for the creation of new innovative products and services. In this regards, we have more than 50 sensor and actuators, interactive robots, IoT technologies, and smart devices that are distributed all along the infrastructure. So this physical infrastructure consists of mainly 3 distinct areas. We have the user area, in which we perform the co-creation sessions, the validations, and so forth. The control room, in which we control what is happening inside the testing and the user area. And then an area of integration in virtual reality, in which we use this kind of technology in order to perform user interactions with specific devices to prototype these kind of technologies. Next slide, please. So in this regards, and as part of the pilot envision here within VITALISE project, we are going to collect this type of data. First of all, we are going to collect socio-demographic characteristics from all our participants, concretely 15 participants, and then we're going to collect specific data from devices. Which kind of devices? So first of all, smart watch sensors in order to collect gait features and so forth, thermometer for the temperature, smart scales for body weight and composition, and finally devices towards blood pressures. Finally, in order to evaluate how this pilot is going to be running and the performance of it, we're going to implement at least 3 patient-reported outcomes and patient-reported experience metrics or measurement, which are, first of all, the health quality of life related quality of life, the ESPAC, which is related to the satisfaction of the patients, and last, trust and empowerment by implementing the PATAT questionnaires. So this is all about our pilot in the LifeSpace at Universidad Politécnica of Madrid. We are based in Madrid, Spain, and we will wait for you. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the Healthcare Transitions Living Lab of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki in Thessaloniki, Greece, the infrastructure is actually a space resembles a real home that is located inside a primary care hospital in Greece, the Hippocratean Hospital. And the innovation of this infrastructure is that it is located exactly next to where the patients are being treated. So before leaving the hospital facilities, the patients can join the infrastructure and perform measurements. The space is equipped with various monitoring sensors like cameras, projections, but also wearables like smartwatches, smart scales, thermometers, oximeters, and all the technologies that can be used in order to monitor the patient. In the data collection, we will be also collecting sociodemographic characteristics of the participants, like gender, age, working state, living conditions, etc. We will be also collecting the patient's health record as they reported that in their primary care doctor. And we will be also collecting information using devices as smartwatch sensor, the Fitbit 5 particularly, smart scale, temperature, but also gait features using 3D depth sensor cameras that are installed inside the our infrastructure, and also blood pressure. The people will go inside the room and perform some activities that will resemble a morning routine. And throughout that routine, we will monitor unobtrusively the way that they are doing that, their movements, and how they interact with that. And we will be also collecting some patient-reported outcome measures about their cognitive status, quality of life, but also hospitalization measures that are regarding how they perceive the quality of hospitalization that they receive. And this is it from Aristotle University, and we hope that we see some of you joining us to perform either this experiment or propose new innovative ones. And now the floor is to Canada.
Yes, hello everybody. So in Canada, across our network, Career Rehabilitation Network, which includes both University of McGill and Montreal researchers, we work across 3 rehabilitation sites for this brilliant initiative, which combines both digital health and biomedical equipment to follow patients through transitions of care. So there are 2 main objectives of Brilliant. The first one is to evaluate all of the personal, psychosocial, and physical and environmental factors that influence mobility and individuals' participation across transitions of care. And the second objective is to evaluate which rehabilitation interventions are most beneficial for different subgroups of individuals with disabilities. And so to accomplish this, we are collecting data within our rehabilitation sites through our digital health platforms that will allow clinicians and patients to enter reports of either clinician reported outcomes, which have to do with individuals' balance and function, or for patients, patient-reported outcome measures that we will ask them to complete across the transitions of care. And we are combining that type of information with information from these types of biomedical interventions and sensors that will give us an idea of how individuals first their mobility levels right after they have their impairments. And this is mainly in individuals with acquired brain injury, so stroke and traumatic brain injury. That will eventually expand to other rehabilitation populations. So we're combining what we get from patients and clinicians with this biomedical type of information and information that we will collect in the home around individuals' movement and interactions within also public environments. And that would create over time a cohort, and a subset of that is part of this VITALISE initiative, but a cohort that we can follow and continue to evaluate and conduct predictive analytics and artificial intelligence to identify the best interventions. So this is done across, like I said, 3 rehabilitation sites, as well as in the community. So if anyone's interested in joining us in Canada, we'd love to see you. Thank you, Desknia.
Thank you. And last but not least, for work packet 6, our colleagues from CERT.
Yes, hi everyone, this is Julieta from CERT. So I'm going to briefly present our living lab, which is a near zero energy building. It's the first NZEB smart house in Greece, and is actually a rapid prototyping and a novel, which incorporates novel technologies and infrastructure, ranging from portable smart home sensors and wearable sensor, and we can embed several technologies in order to monitor both health related aspects as well as energy and other aspects. It's a home simulated environment. As you can see, it's a real infrastructure here located at in Thessaloniki, Greece. And we have already run several clinical trials here, and we will present it in detail at the next slides.
Thank you, Julieta. And now for our third and last joint research activity, Teemu.
Hello all, and greetings from snowy Finland. Happy to see so many here. So what we are doing is we are focusing big data-driven hybrid persona development in everyday living activities. And in everyday living activities, they can be outdoors or indoors. Can you change the slide, please? So the process is very similar comparing to the 2 other joint research activities. We do co-creation and we will have small scale pilots. So we have a bunch of cross-country and cross-case analysis, and what we are trying to do is that we are trying to co-create and harmonized research protocols for developing a big data-driven hybrid personas. And what is a hybrid persona? It's a qualitative persona with quantitative validation. And the aim in here is, of course, to use the technological devices to collect this kind of quantitative data. And the other thing that for co-creation activities, what we're trying to do is to enhance the user experience of the tested interventions and the solutions. And we have a bunch of small scale pilots, and what they are doing, they are investigating the use and the feasibility of these innovative data collection technologies in context of these everyday living environments, as well as in some specific living lab environments. What we do over there, so we are assessing the user experience as well as the impact of the tested interventions and the solutions. The sampling co-creation sessions includes, of course, the study participants, which in most cases are the older adults. We have city employees related to the elderly services or sports and exercise facilities management, museum administrators, and of course, co-creation happens with the living lab operators as well. The small scale pilots, there's a slight variation between the case studies, but everybody is focusing on the older adults, but the starting age is a bit varying. Somebody is focusing for the people becoming to retirement or just recently have retired, having fully healthy, intact and healthy peoples, or having subjective complaints or having a mild physical or cognitive impairments. And also we are varying that people living in homes or people living in nursing homes. Can you change the next slide, please? And next you will be hearing the 5 case studies, and we will have 3 cross-country case studies and 2 case studies which are executed in the 1 country. So AIT and Legal Lab, please continue.
Yes, thank you, Timo. Yeah, welcome also from my side. My name is Markus Garschall. I'm a researcher at the Technology Experience Lab of the AIT Austrian Institute of Technology here in Vienna, Austria. Together with our colleagues from Lika Lab in Belgium, we are setting up one of our joint research activities, case studies, and this one is on the impact of digital coaching on the well-being of older people, especially in this transition phase from working life to retirement. We are addressing the following research questions. What are challenges of older people to maintain a healthy lifestyle? How can digital coaches, the digital coaching apps in particular, support users in their struggle to maintain or establish a healthy lifestyle? And what are potential design implications to further improve this digital coaching system? If we go to the next slide, here you can see our intervention. It is the so-called ProSelf app, a solution developed within a research project and currently in the phase of market introduction. It provides users with mechanisms to monitor your well-being on physical, emotional, mental, and also social levels. And it provides tips and guidance on how to maintain or improve your well-being on all these levels. And within our small-scale pilot, we are going to involve each 20 users in Belgium and Austria living in their own living environments. And if we go to the next slide, yeah, those people are either right before quitting their working life or about to retire. And yes, within a 8 weeks field study and based on a mixed method approach, our goal is to understand older adults' user experiences when using this app, to understand what are successful strategies to maintain or improve one's well-being, and how the coaching app influences the user's subjective well-being over time. Yes, that's just a very quick overview. Our colleagues from Lika Lab and our team here in Vienna, we warmly invite you to submit related or your own study ideas within our open call. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our colleagues from CERT.
Yes, hi. So moving to the next slide. So as we mentioned before, we will use the facilities of NZEB Smart Home here at CERT, which is a controlled lab environment, so as to monitor and examine real life, let's say, scenarios of older adults that will be recruited from our oath. And our main goal is to examine the participants in real life scenarios through the introduction of non-pharmaceutical interventions. So we will use a combined approach with which includes both physical as well as cognitive and mental exercises. And this will be done through brain games that have been developed here at CERT with the use of a virtual coach for exercises, for physical exercises, and the use of wearable technologies and apps that will enable us to detect changes in ADLs as well as in physical activity and health. And finally, we will administer a usability and acceptance questionnaire to collect information with regards to the preferences and the participants' opinion about the study. Next slide. We presented the infrastructure before, just to say that we use a variety of sensors, which detect also changes in the, not actual changes, but the performance in particular ADLs, for instance, sensors that are placed in devices in the kitchen, and we can monitor how the user performed in a specific activity, or sensors such as portable EEG that we can detect changes in brain activity, etc. You can gain more information about the infrastructure if you Google about smart home ITI as well. And moving to the next slide. These are briefly the data that will be collected. So we will collect physiological data from accelerometers, the behavioral and social data from particular questionnaires, and user acceptance as well. And the technologies and the devices that we are planning to use are the virtual agent, which is an app that has been totally designed from surf, and is a guided, let's say, avatar that guides the participants to perform particular exercises. The virtual supermarket, which is an app for monitoring and detecting changes related to the financial management and activities of daily living. The Fitbit wearable will be used to detect changes in physical activity, heart rate. The Muse EEG for monitoring brain activity during the performance of mindfulness exercises and other exercises as well. And finally, the smartphone banking app, which is an app that has been designed also here at CERT and has been validated as well for managing of financials. And we plan to perform also the statistical analysis through by using SPSS and Python libraries.
Hi. Do I have the floor now? Yes. Okay. So I'm Ronda Almeida. I'm working in Interest Foundation, that is the host organization of MindLab. And I will present the study focused on performing a user experience study with radioactive for physical and cognitive training. And this is oriented to reinforce dual task performance. The study will take place with the current prototype version, so we'll be in position to then justify its utility and plan further incremental development to reach the market. So the objective is to test radioactive prototype during an 8-week intervention program implementation. We'll use it to assess usability, learnability, acceptance, and the overall experience of participants. And also utility. In terms of the overall experience, will we focus more in how easy and pleasant it is to use, or as I mentioned, the perceived utility when embedded in active and healthy aging programs. And we also will do at the end a co-creation sprint, so we can understand the challenges for optimizing the program and for its implementation in real settings and services, for example, by exploring ideal workflows. We'll involve 2 groups of older adults over 65 years and around 45 participants, 1 group comprising older adults with subjective complaints for primary prevention, and another group comprising older adults with mild physical impairment. And part of the study will also involve a smaller number of professionals, therapists in this case, supporting the piloting of the intervention program. You can go to the second slide, please. So our Living Lab works with different equipment, like coaching systems, social robotics, VR prototypes for favoring active and healthy aging. But in this case, in this specific study, we'll be using Radioactive, that is a system for physical and cognitive training, combining, as I mentioned, motion and cognitive activities with independent and unrelated purposes. It incorporates controlled physical exercises such as aerobics, strength, balance, flexibility, with motion capture technologies, in this case specifically Microsoft Kinect, in this version, in gamified activities developed to motivate and increase performance. And it is done in virtual environments that help to visit virtually different places in Europe, such as the Swiss Alps, for example. So this is one of the motivating aspects. The program provides step-by-step instructions for the participants, but the sessions will be performed with the accompaniment of experienced professionals. You can go to the next slide, please. Yes, thank you. Before the study, the participants' sociodemographic data will be collected, with also the collection of their level of digital literacy and as relevant background information. There are some of these points I'm mentioning that are not but in the slide. To determine the effects of Radioactive on the 8-week term intervention, as I mentioned, will be performed a comparative study with pre and post assessment based on validated instruments and interviews to assess PROMs and PREMs. We'll be including evaluation of patient-reported health and well-being outcomes measures, social life measurements, specifically also geriatric depression scale, physical status, and perceived exertion tools. It also includes an intermediate evaluation of user experience, usability, and acceptance. Those measurements will be also repeated at the end of the intervention, as I mentioned. Radiocognitive automatic performance data collected through the software will be also available for the analysis. And is that we will be happy to receive the interested researchers in our lovely city in Valladolid in Spain for collaborating in this study and much more. And now I will give the floor to the next partner. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm here talking about the multidimensional physical fitness testing protocol for aging persons. And this is actually a cross-country case study between Laura, Gaia, and Rebecca. And please go to the next slide. And the first section, what I'm explaining about is this physical functioning measurement protocol development, which is done by Laura. And next one. So what we are trying to do is to evaluate the feasibility to this physical fitness testing protocol for older adults. As you can see on the right-hand illustrations, it's basically a track where is a bunch of measurements points in order to do the kind of a lot of people in a quite relatively short time that we are able to measure their physical performance. And what we do is also we will be integrating these technical data collection devices like wearables in order to kind of analyze also technically collected data beyond the stuff that is done in the measurement track. And the new kind of the approach that we are really interested in here is that we've been doing this already in the sports halls, but now we are trying to transfer this process to the nursing home, and as well as this kind of a pop-up approach. So basically, we could be, we will be able to put everything in a van and go to the different places, and then in order to compare the user experience of the participant in a different settings. And please, next one. And our infrastructure is supportable, and this is very important, of course, when working in the everyday living in environments. There are a bunch of different devices that what we are using to measure the physical performance, like balance boards and the different kinds of treadmills and sensors and let's say this kind of classical physical performance measurements tools that are used in the like in typical studies. And next one. As I was saying, so we will have 2-day measurement day, which is aiming for really big amount of the persons. We've been previously doing stuff with the 200 to 300, even up to 400 persons. And the aim is, of course, also to fine tune the process that we can be kind of management a large amount of the persons at same times. And it's basically it's 16 different measurement points, which takes about half an hour for a participant to complete. And for that, we're also using our physiotherapy students to kind of manage the process over there. And for additional participants who will be participating, we will be also using these wearables 24 hours during this process. And what the aiming in here is that this track, what we are using, will be used in the Gaia's case, and in the third case, the TREPAC case, they will be using a different measurement protocols. And the aim is to compare the results between these cases in order to understand possible cultural differences between the cases. Okay, the next one will be the Gaia.
Thank you, Timo. So as Timo was saying, I mean, in here with in this multidimensional physical fitness testing protocol, in Gaia's case, what we are trying to follow here is to use also the concept of public spaces again through the practice of recreational football, in order to also assess how to incorporate, how to use public spaces as sport facilities for the promotion of physical activity, and also to encourage the mental well-being of elderlies in sport facilities, but adapting them to the use and needs and necessities from the elderlies, and also meaning here, as I said, through the practice of recreational football. So in here, what we are trying to gather, or we're trying to assess, is you know, the advantages and limitations of the use in this recreational football for both physical and mental well-being, and also the advantages and limitations of using and redesigning the public spaces and smart public spaces for healthy spaces through the practice of this sport or some other sports, and how also to integrate in here the measurement and the technical devices from the perspective of the elderly. So here what we are doing is we are again collaborating with different entities from Guernica, not just the municipality, but as I said, different associations of elderlies and care homes as well. That will collaborate with the participation of a group of between 20 and 40 elderly among 60 and 80 years old. So these people will practice different actions, and will go through different actions that we are going to design in different public spaces, like the ones that are mentioned here, will get as a sport complex, and different sports centers in here as well. Some of them which are not primarily designed for the practice of these sports. So next, please, Spoina. Yeah, so in here also we are going to count on with the collaboration of the University of Deusto, and with the students of the University of Deusto from the degree of in physical activity and sports sciences. So here we are going to follow a process of 2 months activities we're going to organize one activity per week with the elderly in order to assess at the beginning, at the end, and also to monitor their activity and their improvement, if so, during these 2 weeks of activities through the practice of, as I say, recreational football, and also the previous activities that will be organized prior to those tournaments that are going to be organized. So different smart wearables will be used to monitor the activity and also biometrics of the participants. To be said that, of course, we are going to count on with the also a control group in here in order to compare the results not only with Trebek and Laura University, but also with within our main participants. And also, different assessment tools will be also used in here. So this is from our side. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Annika Nagy, representing Nagykovácsi Wellbeing Living Lab. We joined the case 4 with Finland and Spain, but we are going to have focus on outdoor fitness trails. We have the impact assessment of outdoor training program and the user experience compared to that one. Also, we participate in the pre-assessment and post-assessment phase in this multi-dimensional physical fitness testing for the general condition of people over 55. We are going to use mainly the Rickley-Jones test, which is a bit different from the ones of the Spanish and Finnish partners, and we would like to compare the data with them. Our main target group is people over 55-year-old with not severe mental or physical conditions. Our main research questions are: what are the expectations and fears of using technology in physical activities of this age group, and how physical condition can be measured and monitored with new methods, including technology. We are going to have a minimum of 30 participants. As I said before, the data collection will focus on 2 main aspects. What is the physical condition? One is the physical condition measurement of this age group, which is based on validated tests with the use of smart bands and smart scales. So we are going to monitor things like body weight and composition, as well as the heart rate. And also we are going to use some validated questionnaires like the exercise motivation, inventory test, quality of life test, and user experience. As for our infrastructure, we are located not far from the capital, Hungary, and it's like a big house with possibilities to simulate the everyday use and everyday living environment. So we are equipped with rooms and a kitchen, and we have a big garden for outdoor activities. Also, we cooperate with the local municipality, with the local sports club, also with the elderly centers, so we can set researches into these parts as well. And Nagykovácsi is very special for the beautiful natural environment. So this is why our 8-week intervention is going to focus on outdoor fitness trails and outdoor environments, because we would like to channel these outdoor possibilities more into the life of people. So this is in a nutshell. If you are interested, we are on the VITALISE project webpage with our description, and you are welcome to join us. Thank you.
And last but not least of the day, Nuria and Bam.
Hello from Canada. I will be briefly presenting the Neuro MBAM, where MBAM stands for Musée de Beaux-Arts de Montréal, which is the Museum of Fine Arts in Montreal. And this is a collaborative project with Thessaloniki. Within the concept of social prescription, we hypothesize that a museum visit may not only satisfy a person's love for art, but may also impact on the person. So this project was initially proposed by the research team in Montreal, researchers from McGill University and the Université de Montréal. And then our collaborators from Thessaloniki joined in. So we move forward together in this project. So our objectives, we essentially have two main objectives. We want to characterize the interaction and effects of a visit to the museum on mobility, cognition, language comprehension, well-being, and experience on healthy aging individuals, but also with on persons with stroke who may or may not have aphasia. And our second objective is to try and identify specific museum visit profiles. Earlier, Teemu spoke about personas. So here we are, profiles for these populations, including for persons with stroke and aphasia. The beauty of the collaboration is that while in Montreal, we are in the Museum of Fine Arts, in Thessaloniki, we are in the Museum of Casts. And that allows a person to actually touch the actual exhibits, or let's say most of the exhibits. So if we move forward, yes, thank you. Participants accept to come twice to the museum. So there is a there are pre and post visit assessment batteries. In the first session, we're interested to explore a person's understanding of audio guides, considering that audio guides and whatever information is given through audio guides can actually enhance a person's cognition. And in order to measure this, we not only use actual audio messages, but also pupil labs, eye tracking glasses that allow us to see where a person is looking when they are listening to the audio description. We also take different types of physiological measurements using smartwatch, Fitbit, and in the second session, further physiological measures are taken. Now, in the second session, what we observe is how individuals move through different works, and we record their brain activity using an NIR system. At the end of the two studies, before leaving the museum, the persons are given an actimetry device and must wear it for a week. In the second session, after the first one, they are assessed before and after a 45-minute museum visit. And the mobility tasks are sit to stand, going up and down a stair, looking at gait, which are assessed with an instrumental walkway, IMUs, and actimetry. And what's also extremely important for us to know is their cognitive, emotional satisfaction and their overall experience. Next slide, please. And the next.
One word from Alf, Celia, if you may.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Celia from Mouth. Apologies for not opening my camera, but I was recently attacked by COVID. For JRA3, we will follow the same protocol with our Canadian partners during this small-scale study. So regarding the data collection now, they will take place the predetermined pre and post visit assessment batteries, as mentioned before. the Pupil Labs eye tracking glasses, and also a smartwatch, Fitbit Charge 4 or 5. And then during session 2, apart from the smartwatch, we'll be also utilize the camera for collecting videos of the participants' movements, not their faces, but only their legs, during the somatometric tests in order to gain some measurements regarding their speed and gait rate.
So here you have 3 pictures showing you the infrastructure at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts, and you see the stairs, the walkway, and well, what you don't see is the beautiful art that you could get to see if you were to visit and participate in this project. And the next slide, please.
So our infrastructures is Out Living Environment Simulation, the Thessahal Active and Healthy Aging Living Labs, as well as the Museum of Casts and Antiquities in Thessaloniki, Greece, where both sessions will be held. That was all from my side.
Right. So we look forward to receiving colleagues and moving forward with these projects. Thank you.
So we're at the end of this presentation of our joint research activities. We hope that you didn't get bored. We hope that we gave you some inspiration of what you can do. We hope that we give you a lot of resources in order to search more of what we are doing in our living labs, and that you will apply to join us and work together. And of course, we will now receive some questions from your side, or we can discuss whatever you would like regarding the joint research activities, any ideas, or any specific questions for the researchers that presented the work that will be done inside the project. So the floor is yours now. Please feel free to either unmute yourselves or write your questions in the chat. I do not see anyone wanted to ask anything. So let's remind you all again about the next session that will give you some more practical information about the application form, what you should include in your application for the open call, and what are the steps that you should follow for applying, which will be held next Monday, same hour. And we hope to see some of you there as well. Douglas, do you want to say some closing remarks? We cannot hear you. Okay, so Douglas is saying congratulations to all, and that we are looking forward to welcoming external researchers to our infrastructures. So thank you all, and we can close the session here if there are no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.